Hello, greetings. I am Gilles Monsieur. I am called to return to you today again to continue to speak about this ascension process, this internal alchemy mystery, the unity consciousness, the fact that we are moving, separating ourselves from the old illusion of the temporal world to move into this eternal sphere of light and love. For it is sometimes I'm complaining to spirit about my temporality, about my human aspect, and so they understand, they are kind with me, they are patient with me. That being said, I've been through 90 days of a cleansing process, and I felt like I was in no man's land for a very long time. Now I'm like finding there is a great book I recommend if you haven't read it. It's called The Divine Comedy. There was a new title that was given in the 17th century. In the 14th century, when Dante wrote this book, it was called The Sacred Poem. It's about traversing the circle of hell, finding the purgatory, and the ascension into paradise. For now, I felt like I've been through the circle of hell and I'm beginning to find the purgatory. I'm seeing the light. I'm not yet in my paradise, but we're moving towards this full consciousness, the elimination. We have to look, we have to understand that it is very important to look inside our shadows. It is within our shadow that our creativity lies, for where life begins when fear ends. Love begins when fear ends, and so it is important to address our fear and to be talking to our emotion and thanking our emotion. Our emotions are all here for our growth purposes, and so as we send gratitude to our emotion, even if it is a negative emotion, it is discharge of its negative effect, and we see what's behind the emotion. It was a message I was sent by beloved Gabriel yesterday. For I'm moving towards my full consciousness, but I'm not fully yet there, but I know it will be coming. It is a stage-by-stage process. We're all moving into different stage of full consciousness. For full consciousness is relative. For within God there is infinity of the infinity of beingness, so there is never will be an end to our evolution and our consciousness evolution. So it's but in many sense, I feel like I'm no longer human in many ways. For a lot of things that was part of my life as a human being is no longer of any interest to me. So we're moving into this, but we have to replace it by those higher frequency energies. And so we're moving into as we tune into this divinity, we're going to become superhuman. We're going to discover magic power. We'll be like a mutant in some sense, like in X-Men or Hero, or like the Hollywood shows. But the difference between those shows, those fiction shows, and what is going to be happening is that dark people will not be given power to fight in this polarized sense. Like in those shows, there is dark and light fighting with superpowers. This will not happen. Those will only be given power, those who have kindness, who will use those power for the greater good of humanity. These magic powers will not be given. Since Atlantis, there have been some change in the spiritual hierarchy, made some change in the process, so that will not be given technology to self-destruct and will not be given power that can be used for detriment of humanity. So those powers who have been discovered and explained by the Buddha already, it's about clairvoyance, clairsentient, clairaudience, the ability to know the past life, to know other people's thoughts, to be able to manifest in different spheres at the same time, dematerialize, to levitate. All those powers will become available as we complete our purification process. We develop our lucidity, our compassion, and our courage. For God is an eternal being. It is infinite. It is beyond he, beyond she, beyond it, beyond masculine, beyond feminine. It is beyond anything we can conceive. And in a sense, we are that God. We were that God at the beginning. There could be nothing else but God. And so, but we chose to forget all those memories in order to have an experience in the world of duality, so that we can return eventually to that rank of God, to that beingness of unity. For the Buddha, speak of that because that's what I know, the Buddha realized that this developed a much greater lucidity. His immortal self, when he discovered his immortal nature, he became far more lucid than mortal men. He became far more compassionate than mortal men, and he became far more courageous than mortal men. But all his lucidity, his courage and compassion is very little in relationship to the lucidity, the courage and the compassion of God, because God has the courage to experience all the darkness with us. So the Buddha has extinguished all the darkness. So as mortal beings, we have to move from impure to pure. We need to eliminate, discriminate, and eliminate all impurity within ourselves to move from the samsara to the nirvana. But once we achieve that sphere of enlightenment, we need to return into the samsara to integrate the nature of both light and darkness, as in the yin and yang, so it's perfectly harmonized, and it becomes one sphere of light. For that is a process that will be ongoing anyways, but it is regaining to it. There is nothing to, and in many senses that is really the essence of the purpose of our life. It was to forget, to descend, and then to remember and ascend, to return to the sphere of light, the lucidity of our true nature, of who we truly are. For God is self-distributive. It is really what. God has spread himself into all those forms, infinity of form, in order to experience all those things in the same time, in the same moment of now. And we're all part of that great consciousness that is creation. We are it. There is no God outside of us. It's like everything that we can conceive that on the higher planes, but even the higher planes are part of us as we become aware of them. Everything as soon as we become aware of something, it becomes a part of us. So when we look at the darkness, we become one with the darkness. When we become light, we become aware of light. We become one with the light. And then once we turn only to the light, we become aware of our true nature as eternal beings. But then the darkness has to be dominated by the light. Otherwise, if we look at the darkness, we fall into it, and then we become subjugated by the darkness. So it's about keeping the nature of light and lucidity dominant over the animalistic nature that is all part of us. We all have this shadow aspect that we need to dominate, that we need to not to fight with, but to blend with, to integrate. And so I was drinking a lot of tea. It was giving me headaches, so now I moved into to organic tea. Drinking organic food and organic water is very, very useful. It's like, because we've been polluting this world in such a way, it's very, very intense. So it's good to try to be as conscious as possible, and all those things that we ingurgitate. And so I also wanted to say that we used to, when we first came down here, we were eternal beings. We were fully connected telepathically. We were 12-dimensional beings. But then we were able to nourish ourselves from air and water. But then we lost that power. We lost that now we slowly, with the decreasing of the passage of time, we fell down from dimension to dimension to dimension to end up here. And so now we can... We'll eventually relearn to be able to sustain ourselves from light, from love, from air and water, once it's purified. Mother Mary, Madame Mary, was communicating through the channel yesterday that the Christ was fully incarnated in a physical body. So I sent greetings to him. I hope that she said that he's here to reclaim the sovereignty of the planet, to establish a world government that will be established within the divine laws and principles. And so I just sent him a message: I'm available if you need me. I didn't receive any answer, so that's maybe he doesn't need me. But I've met the Christ many times, and on that, in many forms, many frequencies of light, for it's always been a good friend, a good teacher. And the energy of the Christ has to come from within also. It is an inner light, a golden white light of the Christ. It has to, for the plan of God on this planet is so huge. The Divine Mother will utilize certain body, male or female. The Christ will utilize different body, male and female. God will utilize different body, male and female. And so it is about being part of that. But I haven't received any confirmation. They used to say that he was fully incarnated in the desert, in the Sahara, somewhere in isolation. And now they say that he's in Washington D.C. getting ready to retake over the world. So whatever he needs, we're here to support that process. We want to be in our full power in order to sustain, to protect and to assist this power of the Christ. For the Christ is the ruler of the world. This world fall into some rebellion, so we were deprived of a planetary ruler. His name was Caligastia, and then Melchizedek took over. Melchizedek became the sovereign, interim sovereign of the planet. But then, as the Christ became incarnated 2,000 years ago, he became the official sovereign of the planet, and it is his planet, his universe. Is the creator Son of God of this local universe, and so we want to align as much as possible with this plan in order to assist in whichever way we can in following the voice of the heart, the guidance of the heart. And so So this is basically what I wanted to come and say today. I'm going to pull a few cards. For the highest wisdom for us today is biblical. So it's about this is it. It's like whatever you can draw on from that card, but it is about integrating these memories, this acceptation of the divine plan, to know that you're already part of it. What we need to understand is the war and battles. We need to put an end to the wars and battles, for there is no more need. Only the arms dealer and the bankers that are financing them are interested in the wars and battles. There is no more need for war. We need to redirect our resources towards more intelligent things. As we do that, we find the galactic, we find our inner nature. We have to stop the fight within also, to fight, to be in this ego position where we feel like we need to fight. And so to surround her, what we need to do is the lessons and good deeds. Once we have learned the lessons, we can harvest the good deeds. And the outcome will be the Amerindian. It's a return to a natural way of living, an integrated way of living. And so I also wanted to say that as a spiritualist, it is not necessarily a good idea to want to even look at the world of politics, the world of dualistic, the earth plane. It is not part of our concern. Our concern is ascending into the light. But Spirit is asking me to look at those things and to talk about them. So sometimes I do. I'm taking this liberty. And I was looking at this conference between the Chinese and the European leaders here. And some of them were talking about the denuclearization of the Korean peninsula. Of course we want to do that, but why not envision a denuclearization of the whole planet? Why do we need those nuclear weapons? I mean, what are we going to do with it? What are our intention in relationship to humanity while we keep maintaining those cost a lot of money, those very destructive device. And in the Declaration of Human Rights, for the Declaration of Human Rights, a moral contract, we would hope that it would become a legal contract. First, in this Declaration of the Human Rights, there needs to be added one article about the right of the planet, the right of the animals, the right of the trees, the right of all living beings to be included within this process. For before we discover the replicator, humanity will not be able to become vegetarians. But as soon as we discover replicators, we won't even need to destroy the vegetals. We will be able to find our sustenance directly from the light. We'll be able to manifest any food we want just from the light, just like that, without having to cut a tree or to kill an animal or to do whatever. For everything was given to us to nourish our physical body while we live in physical existence. But before that, we knew how to nourish ourselves from light. We didn't need any of that. So, and we need to purify all the waters of the earth. It is very important. What I wanted to say is that in this Declaration of Human Rights, in the first article, there is the idea that man, you have to be fraternal. Fraternal means brotherhood, means a family. If we are, I don't know how people conceive the idea of family, but having the intention of sending nuclear bomb into another part of your family is not very fraternal. So it's going to be there is a lot of consciousness that is rising, and so I don't mean to be critical in any way, for everything is perfect and following the divine plan. Every being and everyone is exactly where they need to be in order to come into the realization of their own divine sovereign self as they move from level to level. And so this is not a criticism, it's just ideas I thought I shared. For I hope you share those ideas that we want to live in a world of peace where we no longer need bombs and guns and weapons to live together. For we should be able to live to live in a world where everybody is respected and loved and cared for. For that is really where we're going towards, and that is what the Christ, I'm sure, wants for all his family, all his children, and all this planet, to return to a paradise state of reality and existence for all. For I did appreciate the Chinese leaders using those words, for the greatest good of all, for the greatest good of all people. Those are small words, but they show an intention that whatever they're doing, they're doing for the cohesion of the peace of the world. So it is important, no matter what the difference is that needs to be adjusted, aligned, or whatever. There is an intention of working for the greatest good of all. So it is important to do that, to always include yourself also in this greatest good of all. Well, I hope this message was interesting. Those paintings are like, this is part of a series of 7 paintings. This is the number 3. It's called the 7 Families of Spirit Beings. and they're very beautiful. They're very different from one another, and they're all very unique, and they're very the smaller ones are much less detailed. The number 2 was stolen from me. I don't know where it is. I still have number 1, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6 and 7 are in United States in a storage. I'm praying to God that soon I'll be able to retrieve those paintings I have over there. And this painting here is an interior. It's signed and dated 2007. So those paintings of interior, it's like I'm showing like a whole exhibition sometime in them. And so it's kind of interesting because I can explore very different themes. They're both very, very beautiful paintings, very different. And I don't think I'm going to buy new canvas before I can move into a studio, but I may do some new work on paper that are about interiors so I can explore for it's like big paintings in small ones. I find it very interesting. And so I'm going to pull a last card. It is the 2 of Michael. So it's 2 unicorns that are fighting each other. It's like it says everything would go better if you take a decision. Do not ask yourself too many questions. Find a compromise. So it's about finding a compromise with the ego so that the ego can accept the process of aligning, accept the surrounding of all those whole process. And so I'm going to finish with a song. It's a song about following the voice of the heart, following the Christ. It's a gospel song. I already sang it, but it went through my mind, so I'm going to sing it again. It goes like this. I will follow him wherever he may go, and near him I always will be, for nothing can keep me away. He is my destiny. I will follow him. Ever since he touched my heart, I knew there isn't an ocean too deep, a mountain so high it can keep me away from his love. I will follow him wherever he may go. There isn't an ocean too deep, a mountain so high it can keep me away from his love. So God is calling us, so let us stay close to the heart, for it is within our heart. We don't need to go anywhere to find that love within our heart. And so I wish you a wonderful day. Thank you for everything, and I'll talk to you later. Namaste.